In this video, I'm going to be going through how you can use your Google Ads data to ensure that you create profitable SEO campaigns and completely remove the guesswork. When people kick off their SEO campaigns, they typically have an idea of a keyword or a set of keywords, and if they can rank for them, then it will completely change the trajectory of their business. This can be a great place to start, but the main issue we see is there's absolutely no data to back up their conclusion, which means the majority of it is guesswork. Yes, you can look at competitors and see what the market's doing. However, if you don't have any real-world data, you're not going to know how profitable the return is going to be for your business. Also, as the world is ever changing and the likes of social media and influencer marketing is changing the search landscape and how people search for things, we need to really make sure that the keywords we're looking to rank for are profitable before we start that time-consuming campaign. In this video, I'm going to be taking you through the steps you should implement before starting any SEO campaign to ensure the keywords you're looking to rank for are actually going to impact the bottom line of your business. Whether you've got ideas of keywords you're looking to go after, or whether you haven't quite got to that stage yet, this video is definitely for you. First off, let me give you an example. About 12 months ago, we decided that we wanted to go after the keyword SEO agency for our company. And it makes sense seeing as we are an SEO agency. That said, we knew a lot of time, money, and effort was going to go into ranking for this keyword. So before we dived into a 6 to 12 month campaign, we took a step back and said, how can we validate this keyword to ensure that it's going to be profitable for our business? In order to expedite our learnings, we created a Google Ads campaign which really tightly bid on all the SEO agency related keywords out there. On top of that, we wanted to track the amount of direct response revenue this keyword was bringing in for us. To do that, we pulled the GSlid Data, which is a unique click ID for each individual which clicks on one of your Google Ads. We then stored that on our sessions cookie, which then, if they filled out a form, got pulled into a hidden field and then stored into our CRM. If then we had an associated deal with that user, that data would then be re-uploaded with the GSlid back into our Google Ads campaign. This way, we could see the exact value from a sales and revenue perspective that this keyword was bringing us, which gave us a really good idea of how profitable each of these keywords were. This is something I'm not going to get too much into now, but I do talk about how you can use GSlid Data with your Google Ads in a previous video. After running this campaign for around 5 months, we saw the throughput of the results of this Google Ads campaign, and we found SEO agency to be a nicely profitable keyword for us. On top of that, on the surface, very similar terms like SEO services weren't profitable for us. We bid on them for 6 months, and even though we had more leads at a lower cost per acquisition, these keywords often didn't result in a sale. The people that were searching this seemed to be a bit more tentative and ultimately didn't transition into revenue. And this is the other important point. If we were just going off lead numbers and looked at SEO services, it was a cheaper CPC, cheaper CPA, and ultimately we had more conversions. Which means if we were just looking at data within the Google Ads account, we may very well decide to go after that keyword because from a surface level, it looked much better for us, which is why the whole GSlid and using revenue as indicative data to re-back upload to your Google Ads account to make these decisions is absolutely critical to this stage of the process. Ultimately, we're not looking for lead numbers, we're looking for revenue. This was a really important find for us because if we were looking to rank for SEO services, it was far less competitive than SEO agency. So even though that we knew that SEO agency was going to take longer and be more competitive to rank for, we now knew if we were able to rank for that keyword, which we now do, it was going to be highly profitable for our organization. There's nothing more common than companies spending a lot of time and a lot of money going after keywords that them and their board may think are profitable without actually doing the validation work through Google Ads first and really expediting the learnings that you can have. So what I'm going to do now is show you a really cool blended report which allows you to really easily take your Google Ads data and merge that with your SEO rankings to see where you should really be prioritizing your next SEO campaign. All right, let's dive into Google Data Studio. So first things first, we're going to want to pull through the Google Ads data. So let's go onto here, type in Google Ads. You can do it a few different ways. You can either go straight for the Google Ads account, or we have a Supermetrics connector here, which we find quite useful. Add the account, connect the account that you'd like. Great, you can see here we got Google Ads account here, but let's also now add the Search Console. Add your website and then click on Site Impressions and Web and click Add. Cool, as you can see down the right hand side down here, ignore these blended sources for now. These are just previous ones I was playing around with. But we have our Google Ads data, so we can obviously see how seeing everything at a keyword level and what's converting and the revenue off the back of them, as well as seeing Search Console. So this is your organic traffic and your average rankings over a certain period of time. I typically would say you can use a rank tracker like SE Ranking or SEMrush or Ahrefs, for example, if you do have subscriptions which allow you to use the API to pull them through. It may be slightly more accurate than the average for the Google Search Console, which always seems to be quite far out. But if you want to use these exact keywords, keyword tools, you can then merge them with the likes of Google Ads data to give you a really accurate like for like of where you've been ranking across maybe different devices as well. So first off, let's pull through some Google Ads data. So let's pull through the search query, because what we actually care about is search term itself. Let's set this for the past year. So we can see a couple of keywords we've been bidding on down here for one of our accounts. And within this, let's also add, so we got Google Ads search term here. Let's also add, unfortunately in this, I'm not going to add all of the revenue and all of the other data associated with each of our clicks, because there are some things I'm probably going to keep a bit private. But what I'm going to show you today is the process you can go through to start merging Google Ads data with your Search Console data to make sure that you're going to be running profitable SEO campaigns moving forward based off the paid acquisition strategy you've been running. So we can see here search term impressions, which are the amount of impressions we've been getting for all these queries. And what I'd normally do is I'd pull through, probably wouldn't pull through impressions even, I'd probably just pull through, say for example, clicks and another column which is associated revenue and then maybe associated conversions with these terms. So I have like some top line data about impressions, I'll also have the revenue data here, and I'll have the conversion data here. But I don't obviously have that here because there is a thing of oversharing. And then what I'm going to do next is go into Search Console. Let's go on and now, and within this, let's add the query. So what we want to see here is we've got the Google Ads here, and we've got the search queries over here. And obviously all these keywords here that we're looking to rank for, so if we click on, go on clicks and ad metric, we can see here, obviously we're getting quite a lot of clicks around SEO agency, B2B lead generation, PPC agency, SEO agency London, and obviously these clicks here and these rankings that we have been informed off the back of our paid media acquisition strategy. They weren't just random. We decided that they were going to be profitable for us. We bid on them from paid media keywords, and now we're looking to rank for them organically. And we can see here quite a good throughput for the likes of SEO agencies, sort of getting in a lot of clicks there, which has been working nicely for us, as I mentioned earlier. Don't care too much about the clicks, so let's go on average position. And again, this is global, so it's going to throw it out quite a lot over the last 6 months. So you can see here the same with position 38 globally for SEO agency, which isn't great when you look at it, but in the UK, we're top 3, if not top 1. So what we've got here is if we had all the search term data and revenue here, we then start to be able to see which keywords in the average position. Like I mentioned, if you do use other more accurate tools in the short term, like rank trackers on a daily basis or weekly basis, it may show you slightly more accurate search ranking data versus this. Or what you can do is go down and you can add a filter. And if you add a filter, you can just filter it and say, I just want to look across the UK as a country over a certain time period, which you can select at the top, which will give you a slightly better one, but I always find Search Console is slightly out. I wouldn't use it as a rank tracker, put it that way. Cool, so this is kind of half useful at the moment. It's a bit like, I did this to illustrate the point in the fact that we have search terms here. This is the Google paid media side. I'd probably change this to be like paid search terms, paid impressions, and this to be organic query, organic clicks, and organic rankings. Not that paid has rankings necessarily. It's called absolute top. Won't get into it. But what we're going to say here is we want to look and merge the queries with search terms so we can merge the paid media reports. And to make this really easy for you guys to see, what we're going to do is create a blended data report. So we're going to go on to resources, manage blends. And what I'm going to do here is go add blend. And the way this works is Google Data Studio aligns from the left to the right. So we want to pair up query and search terms so they merge if they can match on the left-hand side, and then use the rest of the data as metrics moving along. So if I go on Google Ads and type in, let's go and look for search term, and I'll whack that in here. And then I'll type in impressions, like we did before. So those are 2 keywords we got before. And then we've got search term impressions like the table we had. Join another table. Let's go on Google Ads. So I've completed another table. So what we're going to do here is type in, not Google Ads, let's go in Search Console. So with Search Console, what we're going to add here is query like we did previously, and then let's add in average position as a metric as well as clicks. So what we want to do now is once we have the queries, search terms, we want to go configure to join, left outer, so ultimately we want to add the field search terms and query, and then click save. Save. So cool, so now we have the latest one at the bottom. So this is our newest blended data. So let's pull out search terms. So what we can see now, nothing impressive yet, but we've got search terms. We have our organic impressions. Let's put it into metrics. So now, the paid impressions. So this is the mirror of the one above, but now what's cool is because we blended this data together, let's go and rename this again, paid impressions. What we can do now is then put in, let's call this organic clicks, and then average position. We'll call this organic rankings. Cool, so now what we have here is a blended report where we can blend the Google data. So we can say, we can say that these search terms here are from Google Ads. This is how well they've been performing. And let's just, for the sake of allowing you guys to visualize it more, let's call this revenue. If you do the GSlid setup, like I mentioned, and re-import the data, what you could have here is SEO agency is worth, £500,000 worth of revenue. What we can see here is we've actually only got an organic ranking globally, which again is correct globally, but if I did it locally, like I say, I'm positioned page 4 here, for example. Let's push really hard on this campaign globally because we know how much revenue this could be worth. A good example for us would be, let's scroll down, SaaS Market Agency UK. So this was worth 12 grand, organic clicks here. We're actually positioned 6 globally. So what maybe we should do is push it harder. But I can see the search volume is really low here. So what I'd do is, I'm not going to go through all the data I've got here. There's a lot of data here that if we actually show the revenue that these paid media keywords were bringing us, then you'd know what's coming next. You'd know what's coming next in our SEO strategy because it's very clear for us where our revenue is coming from a search perspective, and it actually has changed in the last 6 months with the likes of our LinkedIn ad campaigns as well influencing revenue. Won't get too much into that, but I hope today, guys, this has actually shown you how you can use Google data to validate keywords before going after them organically. And this report here should be the staple of any SEO campaign to say, this is the paid media terms which are bringing in this amount of revenue, and this is my current organic rankings. You probably don't even need clicks. You just need this, and you can color code it to say these are the ones we should be going after. So you can set rules to say if the revenue is over X amount, then and your rankings aren't on page 1, then highlight that green, because that green means opportunity for you guys. And you can even pull things like competitive landscape and difficulty, get really into the weeds with how confusing it all gets. But ultimately, this is what you need. You need the search term blended report from Google Ads and Search Console. You need the revenue that it's brought in, or at minimum, qualified leads. And finally, organic listings, or average listings across the location that you're going after to really inform where the opportunities are for you guys. And that's pretty much everything today. Recommend you guys, if you're going after SEO campaigns or currently working on them, you may have an idea which ones are profitable, but if you really want to be sure and have a use case to sell SEO in to your company and your board, make sure that you run paid media campaigns first, get a good ROI, and then you can go back and create their SEO campaign, which you know is going to be profitable. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. See you next week.